Oh, that's very interesting to me. This is Jason Schwartz. I'm here with Doctor. Should I say Doctor?
No.
Okay. David Bruce Leonard. Here on Maui, many people know David. David is the director, founder of the Earth Medicine Institute, and is an acupuncturist and works in herbal medicine, and there's all kinds of things that he does as well with him and his partner, all kinds of stuff. So, firstly, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Jason.
We're in a funny format here because we're on radio. For those of you who can't see, David is 8 foot tall, or can't see. You're 8 foot tall and 7 feet wide.
Only my self-image.
If you're on Facebook Live, you can see us. You can also watch afterwards at MauiNeutralZone.com, see all of our shows. We have different kinds of things, and although we're neutral zone, of course, you know, we're not neutral. And I was having a guest this week. We were going to talk about film. Barry from the college who teaches world cinema. But he couldn't make it, and I called Ed Fell. Ed Fell is how would I describe Ed?
He's a remarkable human being.
A remarkable human being with many facets, like many of the diamonds on Maui. And he couldn't make it Monday, and I said, who would you think is an interesting, good guest? And he said to me, David Bruce Leonard. And I called you, and I thought, what a great choice.
All right, we'll have to write him a check.
So, how would you describe yourself and what you're doing?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't actually know. I was hoping you could give me some clues.
Well, the clues that I got were your keywords. We live in a computer age. You guys know that stuff. Plant medicine.
Plant medicine, yeah, that's a good
sexuality, which is human sexuality. Self-defense.
And self-defense. Yeah, those are three big arenas, yeah.
But it's interesting, life is a holistic, when you look at it holistically, a lot of stuff fits together, they're natural growth out of the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Life. Well, you know, the way I think of those things where the overlap is the way we navigate our nervous system, is the human nervous system. So a lot of, with the plant medicine, a lot has to do with gathering protocols and nature skills, and how we kind of hack our nervous system to navigate the natural world, and also the reclamation of our bodies. And
what do you mean by hack our nervous system?
Well, I have a theory that traditional cultures, that the techniques used by traditional hunter-gathering cultures essentially hack the nervous system, allow us shortcuts into how to enhance our own nervous system. Meaning
stimulants to create more activity or build more energy?
No, I don't mean substances. I mean specific techniques for hunting and gathering.
Oh.
So a lot of what I focus on is the way we navigate adrenaline in our bodies. And the adrenaline is kind of a contiguous thread through plant medicine, through sacred sexuality, and through self-defense. And because we live in our nervous systems, and our hormones and neurotransmitters dictate a lot of how we show up in the world. And so plant gathering practices, there's things like peripheral vision, there's what I call locus and focus, which is where we focus on our body. And traditional cultures use these techniques, these specific techniques, to increase the amount of data that we can absorb from our environment.
Okay. I'm just going to make you a little louder. Okay.
Yeah.
You're good.
And in sexuality, a lot of the way we navigate our sexuality is about how we can embody a parasympathetic, relaxed, comfortable state. And in self-defense, it's how we navigate our adrenaline. So these are all different ways it's the same nervous system, and the human nervous system is universal. But these skills will cross boundaries. You know, the skills that we learn from self-defense can enhance our sexuality, and the skills we learn from our sexuality can enhance our nature skills. Am I confusing?
No. I want to make sure you're a good distance. Notice how I'm about this far.
Got it.
When you get it, you're more echoey, and I just want them to hear the presence of what you're saying. So
great.
Great. How did you get into all this? I mean, I always think about my ex-wife, when I just got married in 1978, went to California Acupuncture College, and I was the guy holding up the cue cards.
Oh, great.
3 Tsun lateral, you know,
Exactly,
all kinds of stuff. But I didn't retain. But I've been introduced to herbs and acupuncture long ago, and it wasn't always an easy road. I'm sure that it's become a growing acceptance in the Western culture. And so when I'm hearing that, I was wondering, were you where in the 3 things did you have a passion that put it together?
I started out, well, I've always done sacred sexuality my whole adult life. But I was in Asia as a young man. I was 21 years old, and I was in Kathmandu, and I was walking down the street, and I had this epiphany that I should study acupuncture out of nowhere. So I went to a store and bought some needles and found a teacher and bought some books. And then I came back to the West and put off my education until I was 30, at which case I went to 5 Branches University in California.
Wow.
And studied there. Yeah. So, and then in acupuncture school, I fell in love with plant medicine. And that's been an abiding passion ever since.
That's good. So you are, I guess you'd say, a proponent of... There are solutions in the natural plant world where pharmaceuticals are manufactured and created to simulate the plant medicine that has been found to be effective, but these things can be patented and identified as theirs, so it becomes a product where you can't take a leaf or a piece of bark.
Right, and patented. Well, they're working on patenting those things.
Are they? No.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But no, I think it's all good. I think all tools are good. I think Western medicine is awesome. I think, I'm not crazy about corporate medicine, but Western medicine is incredible. I think Chinese medicine's incredible. I just got back from Vietnam a few months ago, and their medicine's amazing. Amazing.
How does it differ in its orientation, would I say?
It's very similar to Chinese medicine, except that it's more integrated with Western medicine than Chinese medicine is here in the West. But also it's more about cleansing. Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, moves more into balancing. But Vietnamese medicine, which comes from Chinese medicine, is much more about cleansing. So the theories are a little different. Same acupuncture points, same herbs, but quite different approach.
Cleansing, meaning whatever in your body isn't good to get it out of
detoxifying, yeah.
Whereas you're saying that
Chinese medicine would tend to focus more theoretically on balance rather than cleansing. So
not necessarily getting anything out, but just making it more balanced.
It might get things out, but the way they're describing it is different.
So here we have these 2 different variations on modality, and I think that the word, last week there was mention of traditional medicine versus conventional medicine. Yeah. Versus, it's very unusual. Contemporary medicine? I don't think that's contemporary medicine, but...
Yeah, so they for a while the trend was to call it alternative medicine, and now we're calling it integrative medicine, and ultimately it's all just medicine.
Right. And there is no alternative, but...
Right.
Do you use diet as part of your strategy? I imagine somehow.
I do. Yeah, a lot. I'm a flexitarian. I'll eat anything, but I'm primarily vegan. So
I never heard that word, flexitarian.
Flexitarian means I'm not dogmatic about my food choices, but I'm at home. I'm about 90% vegan. Yeah, and a little bit of dairy, and if I'm out, I may eat meat or whatever. I don't buy meat at home.
Now, I understand that I looked in the records here, you're about 83 now, so looking good for 83. No, it's not true, folks.
No.
So you're in good shape, and you live what you speak and work about, which obviously is... I used to find it funny when I went to the doctor with my father, and the doctor would be the smoker who died early and had the heart thing.
Right. I believe in making informed choices. I don't personally think there's any morality in health myself. I don't think that healthy people are better than unhealthy people. I think that... But the trick is, of course, being accountable and taking responsibility for our choices.
Yeah. And it's nice. I always like to put in enough information so the people that are making choices have something to really see. Statistics that are so clear.
Yeah.
I've been reading about, the title of the book was How to Not Die.
Nice title.
Yeah. And it was a bestseller. And so I'm just reading it just because I'm starting to work with hydrogen, HHO machine, all kinds of other stuff. And as I'm reading, I'm realizing, man, I have to keep giving up so much stuff here. And then I'm realizing it's really a choice. We have choices.
There's only behavior and consequences. There's no morality in what we put in our bodies. Personally, that's my opinion, you know.
I'm with you.
And so, you know, my experience with myself and with my patients is that slow is better than fast in terms of change. And, you know, if we take away a pleasure, we have to replace it with another pleasure. Hopefully healthy pleasures, but we're going to get X units of pleasure every week. So we're either going to do it by beating the dog, or eating junk food, or by exercising, or by having healthy sexuality, or whatever, or you know, you know, my partner and I, my partner's name is Jody Baygood. We have a model of relationships we call a relationship sanctuary that we teach to couples, and a relationship sanctuary consists of 2 personal sanctuaries. Each personal sanctuary, each person, like, so I have a personal sanctuary, and my job in the personal sanctuary is to self-soothe and self-confront, and to recognize that I am completely responsible for my quality of life. Nobody owes me anything, and I'm responsible for my quality of life. On top of that, or over that, is a relationship sanctuary. And my job in the relationship sanctuary is to watch my partner's back and make sure I increase my partner's quality of life. So these 2 things is kind of an older sort of a 50s or 60s model of relationship where we watch each other's backs, and then there's sort of a 90s or 2000s model where we have to be happy ourselves in our personal sanctuary. So it's a balance.
Well, it's interesting. As I'm listening, now I'm older and I'm thinking 50s and 60s. Okay, that's me. So, so I had a very, I want to say traditional, but I had a mother and father that watched each other's backs and taught love and caring and responding, and you know how. And now in the 90s, you say it's more like me.
Well, it's more like, what do they say? Yeah, what do they say? You can't love other people if you can't love yourself, which is stupid, but that's what they say, right?
You know, there's since the internet come, I don't know if I can equate it with it, but since the internet, where there's more information, for more choices for people to learn, there's not as much depth going on. You know, people aren't. I don't find people focusing as much. I find
that's interesting.
Very broad approach with young people, and so when you're talking about personnel, when you take care of yourself first, I'm wondering, do they reach that next larger sphere of personal and relationship? Do they get there now? Same.
I don't know. I mean, people are neurologically challenged from, you know, iPhones and iPads and stuff, and our attention span is now about 3.6 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that the process of being accountable and making sure I'm filling my own bowl, my own bucket in my life, and then reaching out to my partner is a really nice balance between taking care of myself and doing my work. We all have to do our work, and then taking care of my partner and making sure that she's, without enabling her. So I want to make sure her quality of life is increased without enabling her shadows or her neuroses.
Right, and that always has the other component, which is the other component, which is when someone may have issues, you love them and you're there and you're supportive and you do your best to help them through these things.
Exactly, and we all have issues.
That commitment, that's what I meant about a larger thing. There's not only me and you, and you're not changing, I'm being patient by. And it's like a different kind of an attitude.
Learning to delay gratification is what defines us as adults, right?
That's a very interesting parallel, delay of gratification.
You know, and that's how we define children. Children do not delay gratification. They want it now, and that's how they're wired. But they have to, their frontal lobes need to develop their, you know, the prefrontal lobes, the way they think. Making them into grown-ups means teaching them to delay gratification and look to the long view of their lives and make choices. And I think as we grow older, you know, with our siblings, we realize, or even with our parents, we realize we're separate people. We individuate, we differentiate. We have to do that with our partners, our spouses, and we have to do it with our parents and with our kids. You know, we have to differentiate and realize that at some point, of course, we always love them, but they're separate people and they're going to make mistakes. And we are going to transmit our shadow to our children. You know, the parts of us we don't like, they're going to pick up on, and there's no way around it. And they're going to come in with shadow. Kids are going to come in with their own shadow. But I think there's a healthy balance between kind of leading kids to becoming healthy human beings, but not smothering or over-controlling them.
And I brought up, I think it's always interesting that parents, when kids are going through good and bad, you know, there's the proud parent, but there's also the parent that wishes it could be better for their kid and live with his pain, you know.
Yeah, and it's hard.
But see, that what you said, you also say in a relationship, that sexual relationship, it's important to also have your own cone of balance.
Yeah, exactly. And
because that's going to allow you to have that healthy.
And we're social creatures, you know, we need other people. And the social mirror, what we hallucinate other people think about us is incredibly important. But if it becomes too important, we lose our core, we lose our roots. So
that's a very, very, I hope everyone heard that one real clear. If we're concerned about what everyone thinks about us,
if we're overly concerned,
and we forget who and what we are, and
our own mission,
generate who that is, really a beautiful place to be.
I call that rooting. That process is rooting, and I envision it as a tree. So who I am is my roots going down into the earth, and the branches that go out is my feelings about other people and my sensitivity to the world. But there is a large overlap, because I believe that differentiation or finding our root is a physiological process. I think it happens in the body, and that is not doesn't just happen in our head. It happens with an awareness of our torso and our legs and etc. And that acupuncture can help that process of identifying our deeper self or our core self somatically in our body. So that's kind of one overlap.
Do you find that over the years, I imagine you have patients and you have students, like you say, separate, and in your Earth Institute, you actually teach all kinds of different things, and you have all kinds of practitioners, I want to say, working under your banner.
Yeah, right now I've had a lot of people. Right now it's mostly me, but we've done big conferences, and I've had lots of people working for me, and it's really exciting.
I'd like to get into the self-defense area if we could.
Yeah, interesting. The ad that was just on was about keeping kids safe, children safe. Well, what about when they grow up? What about when they become, you know, they're 15, 16, 17, they go to college? How do you keep women safe? How do you keep girls safe? You know, and that's something that is really important to me, and I've been teaching for many years, and we do classes in women's self-defense. A lot of the focus of our classes is about not being there when trouble happens. It's not about fighting, although we teach fighting, but that's only as an absolute last resort when there's no way out. You know, we say that when violence is always your last choice, but when it is your last choice, it's your only choice. So ideally, you want to prevent, de-escalate, not be in the situation in the first place. But if you have no choice, then you need to fight.
And I also think it's interesting as a perspective, people that fight and have the capability to do some damage because they're trained are reluctant to fight. They try to avoid situations because they know they have, you know, a skill that's, you know, only meant to, I used to say, you don't use it unless you need it. And if you need it, you need to know it. So that's great.
Yeah.
Where do you guys do this, up country?
So we teach in Haiku, and down in Kokomo Road, And we have a class coming up a week from Sunday, a women's class. We have 2 slots left, and we go over, it's kind of a full spectrum class. We go over the mind of a predator, how to de-escalate situations, reading body language, cues. Predators will say things that will let you know that they might be predatory. So there's verbal cues you can hear that'll warn you, and also a lot of it's about trusting your instinct, because our limbic system is way older than our species, and we can read. Especially women are good at this, but men too. We can read situations.
Do you find that in our, I want to say in our age where every story becomes, gets sensationalized, do you teach your students to know the difference between, and really be subtle to the fact that sometimes someone isn't doing something to you, and not to alarm you, to be comfortable at some point?
Well, what I always tell my students is your safety is always more important than somebody else's feelings. It's if you need to tell somebody to take a hike, if you're not sure, that's what you do. And this work also can be transformative neurologically or somatically, because what we do is a lot of these women have been assaulted that we teach.
I see.
And so what we do is we put them in, we re-adrenalize them. We bring their adrenaline back up, and we teach them to bypass their freeze response. So we teach them in a dangerous situation to use large muscle groups to protect themselves. Also, in that process, what we do is we create a container that's very safe. And oftentimes in that container, in these scenarios, I have a suit I wear that allows me to take full contact blows. But I would be dead if I didn't have the suit on. And in that container, we can recreate a scenario and give the body a different outcome. So a woman that's been assaulted, we might, in a very safe setting, she'll be re-adrenalized, and her body has a different outcome to that, and that tends to modulate the nervous system and reduce the impact of the trauma.
Well, how large are your groups? Pretty small, I'd imagine.
Yeah, because I can only do so many situations in the suit. So we limit our classes to 8 students, 8 women.
So that's a great opportunity for a couple of ladies. What kind of age range do you have in your class?
It can be, well, we can teach younger girls, but mostly we say 14 and 15 and up. We've taught women in their teens, and we've certainly taught a lot of women up to their 70s.
And you've been doing these kind of things for a while, so do you see, do you ever track the people afterwards and how their lives are, but before and after?
We do, yeah. And this work was created by a man named Matt Thomas, and then I studied with a student of his whose name is Bill Kipp. And Matt has tracked over 1,000 confrontations and over 283 physical altercations of women who've taken the class. And out of those 283, I think 6 of them lost, and the rest of them defeated their attacker physically. So that's a really high rate of success when women, even there was one woman who took the class, and 35 years later she defended herself.
Uh-huh.
So it really gets into the nervous system and works so that we bypass the freeze response, and we learn to make women safe. And
in 35 years, I'm always wondering, in social situations, I've seen it happen where someone says something, and the reactions that happen, I don't know if they get to physical. I don't know if that's really the same, but sometimes people say things that others react differently. So I'm always very, when I'm here. Yeah,
we always teach our students, don't become passive and don't become aggressive, to become assertive. Because if you're passive and you run, you can initiate a predator response in a predator. They'll chase you. If you are overly aggressive, you can create trigger, and you can escalate the aggression. But being assertive is a line in the sand.
Do you have classes for men to show men?
We do, yes.
What their role is in social, I want to call it social, it's not more mating.
What their part is, it's very interesting stuff. Yeah, we work with men also. and but also self-defense for men. I think our records for men. We haven't been teaching men very long. I think we have 28 wins and no losses. Men have taken the class and have been assaulted.
I'm always curious because I had a friend who was in Tibetan Buddhism, but he also was black belt martial arts for years. And he always made me realize that he taught everyone to recognize their ability and power so that in situations they, like you say, were more assertive, but also knew when to not be and understood their personal power and the need to be careful with it, although assertive. So
absolutely, yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
A man I studied with, he believes that he encourages me to study beauty. And if I continuously study beauty, things that are ugly in the world will become really obvious. And then when I've dealt with that stuff, I go back to studying beauty. That's how to do this work and not become jaded.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and you do it with a partner who I know, Jody, and I think she's soft and beautiful and wonderful. So I don't think of her. I guess you probably know Lisa Teichner. Do you know her?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So women and self-defense are,
and they're very. You'd be surprised what women can do. It's amazing.
So someone who is soft and gentle and beautiful doesn't have to be afraid. You have all kinds of people in your classes.
Oh yeah, there was a woman that my teacher Bill Kipp taught. She was in a wheelchair. This was in California, and her biggest fear was that she would be assaulted while in her wheelchair. So she took the class. They did a special class for her. Yeah. And a few years later, somebody broke into her apartment and assaulted her.
Wow.
And she knocked him out cold and called the police, and he's now in prison in California.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite effective.
Well, it's interesting how I'm backpedaling from absolutely, that's what I'm hearing. That's what this self-defense stuff is about. When there's an incident, you are the supreme.
And it's about getting home alive, whatever that takes.
And I was just thinking that my focus is on trying to not confront. But when you have to confront, win. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I see.
And you have to win on the street, and you have to win in the courts, too. So there's a lot of material that we teach on articulation, on the laws, on, I always encourage people to give up property. If somebody comes into the house, leave the house. Just get out. That's the smart thing to do. No, you don't want to be a hero. You don't want to risk anything. Somebody steals your car, let them have it. Somebody wants your wallet, let them have it. But once it comes down to your personal body and your personal safety, that's where you draw the line.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, about self-defense, do you want to give some specifics or anything like of how people can get in touch? I think it's important before we jump off to a different thing.
Yeah, you can email me at earthmedicine@protonmail.com.
Proton, P-R-O-T-O-N.
Yeah, or you can go to the website Earth Medicine Institute, and you'll find the area on there. Yeah, and we have, like I said, we have a class coming up a week from Sunday on March 24th, I believe. And
good.
And it's really fun and very supportive. And I have 2 female instructors and me, and we go over the whole gamut of personal safety. So
great. Well, I'm glad. We'll get this on TV, and it'll hopefully have afterburn too, because
great.
It'll be ongoing. I know you are. I think I'm going to take a few moments, and I want to say, take advantage of free consultation. I have an acupuncturist in front of me and an herb guy, and when I think years ago we had a guest here, Lyons Naone, who lives in and. Way back when he was first teaching herbs, I took a class with him, and sadly I don't remember very much, although I remember some.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's overlap totally in Hawaiian herbs and
there's a lot of overlap. A lot of Chinese herbs grow in Hawaii. Yeah.
Would you say that around us we have solutions to many of the things that...
Absolutely. There's so many solutions. I mean, it's a month doesn't go by where I'll find information on a plant I've been looking at for 25 years in Hawaii, and all of a sudden there's new science that said this plant is good for this condition or this situation, you know.
So I always think about plant medicines. My ex-wife, I mean, that's my exposure and where my original thing with herbs and I go. There was a guy named Sidney Uden. Dr. Sidney Uden traveled the world, 108 countries, came back with herbal formulas, and was saving people from cancer, multiple sclerosis. It's funny because it was, what do they say, before its time? Because these herbal combinations might still be good. And there may be other companies doing. Do you make preparations yourself, or do you take?
I do for my patients. Yeah, I have a full pharmacy. And you know, it's interesting because I just spent a week ago Sunday. I was teaching with Dane Silva in Kona, and the class was called "Science Catches Up: Hawaiian Longevity Practices for the Current Age." And you know, many of these traditional practices, Chinese and Hawaiian practices, have their roots or have been discovered to be scientifically valid. So that's always enheartening to see that.
Well, it's nice to share it and let people hear that. Do you teach that kind of stuff also? You do?
Yeah. I teach here in Maui, and we'll do what we call wildcrafting certifications, which is 5 weekends. We will do nature skills certifications, which is fire starting, shelter building, star navigation, you know, tracking, things like that. They're different. The wildcrafting is more plant medicine, and the nature skills are more, survival kind of things.
I see. See, everyone who hears the name Earth Medicine Institute is going to be thinking, wow, there's all kinds of good stuff. You should go up to their website and check them out. I really, I've heard your name. You know, I've seen your name. I've seen you around through the years. Yeah. It's interesting how so many people, we are all busy with our lives and we don't stop. I'm very glad we got a chance to sit here.
Yeah, great.
Let me ask you a couple of odd ones.
Okay.
In my lifetime, I've been around people that just cannot figure it out. Cramps. Maybe sounds like an innocent word.
Cramps. Yeah. Any specific kind?
I mean, she's got it. Her kids have gotten it. Her grandkids have gotten it.
Oh, menstrual cramps, you mean?
No.
Oh.
Suddenly, cramp in your leg. Cramp in your arm, cramp in your head. Can't sleep through a single night without cramps. Wow. Oh, too much sugar, this or that.
Interesting.
I ask every doctor since the beginning of time, and no one has figured it out. So I thought, well, let me ask a plant guy.
Okay, well, there's a lot of plants that are used for cramping. And certain plant families are kind of known for those things. But there's also looking at a foundational piece of inflammation in the body, which is a little bit different than your question, but I think it sort of addresses the root of it. That a lot of many conditions in our body are correlated to inflammation.
So
if we
when
reduce,
a grandkid has it, I'm just always wondering, do we have systems that have a tendency toward?
Absolutely, and there could be a genetic component or an epigenetic component where the propensity is like maybe certain foods will trigger cramping in certain genetic lines and not in others.
What kind of I want to say plant essential oils are they, or how
you could in Hawaiian Herbs, kava is known for relaxing muscle spasm. The sensitive grass, the Gila Gila, the one that closes when you touch it, the plant, that you can use for cramping. You need to boil it. It has to be boiled, and it has thorns, so you have to filter it very well, but you can make it as a tea.
Do not try this at home unless you know what you're doing.
No, don't ever put anything in your mouth, right, or that you don't know where it is or where it's been.
Very important.
Right. So that's been used. There's a lot of Chinese herbs for that. There's a whole category of Chinese herbs called expel wind dampness, and those are used for cramping.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just always wondering about preventive. It's like I'm always thinking, how do you get a good night's sleep?
The answer to preventive is eating. Well, it's like your grandma said, eating lots of vegetables. Front load your vegetables because. The vegetables have a certain amount of nutrition in them, but the fiber in the vegetables we can't digest, but our gut microbes digest. And those gut microbes are responsible or can prevent a lot of inflammation in the body. So if you eat vegetables, it keeps your gut microbes happy. We have 1,000 different species of microbes in our body. Different species.
Wow.
9 out of 10 of the cells in our body are not our DNA. 9 out of 10.
No kidding.
Yeah, they're microbes. The microbes, we're actually like a city. So when you look at who we are as individuals, it shifts our definition a bit. So the way to think about this stuff, rather than what do I use for cramps, what do I use for diarrhea, what do I use for constipation, is how can I reduce the inflammation in my body, the chronic inflammation. And that is food will do it, saunas will do it, exercise will do it. There's something called hormesis, which is a resistance we have. So things that, hormesis is difficulty. And a lot of the herbs that we take work because our body rejects them. And that makes our body stronger. Like turmeric. Turmeric is not actually terribly nutritious. Our body actually rejects it. But that rejection is the kind of the body's way of exercising and in doing so decreases our inflammation.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think thinking about the root, you were talking about the root causes of things. It's different than just I have a headache. What do I use for headaches? It's how can I create less inflammation in my body and become a happier human being in small steps, baby steps.
But regular steps.
But regular steps, exactly.
Not just once in a while. See, I did exercise last week twice.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And finding pleasure. Like I say, we're going to get X units of pleasure in our lives. So retraining our mind to get pleasure from the activities that are good for us.
And what do you say about food? You're a
flexitarian.
Flexitarian. I like that word.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Yeah, and my partner is a vegan, and she has friends that have known her for years that never knew she was a vegan. Don't know.
Right. You don't even have to announce it. You
no,
can
exactly.
Just choose it by the choices you put on your plate.
You don't have to. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to tell other people how to live their lives. You can just
right. You don't have to tell them not to eat that.
Right, and you
can, but
you vote with your dollars. You vote with your fork, and then that's an inspiration to me.
What do you think of this new land thing? Have you had any input with people with 41,000 acres, Mahi Pono? Anything?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Any things you'd like to see grown here that we could really use?
Anything organic. I mean, we need to be self-sufficient and to get under the boot of corporate
healing
agriculture.
Medicines? I'm always thinking.
Any what?
I know that there's a spot on an island, to be unnamed, that has ayahuasca, which is in the middle of the jungles.
Yeah, it's quite invasive, actually. So it's
contained. It's a contained sanctuary for the ayahuasca medicine. That was interesting to me.
Yeah,
Any other things that are grown here that may not be in that category, but
you mean as that are psychedelics, or just in general?
Just in general.
I don't garden. I have they say I have 10 brown thumbs, so I end up eating the weeds every time I put in a garden. So I'm a big fan of the weeds because we can get rid of them, we can use them.
That's a great attitude.
Yeah,
the weeds are some of our
the best medicines, absolutely the best. Yeah, they're strong, they're hardy, and you can get rid of them all without feeling bad. They're not native, and they're very powerful medicines.
And turn them into soup, maybe.
Turn them into soup, yeah. Lots of edibles. Make tinctures, make salves, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here's now, I'm going back from cramps, which is a real problem. Many women have heard, and I guess everyone heard of candida, and most people think it as a female sexual thing, a disease. It's a yeast infection.
Right.
But what about systemic candida? I know someone who's had it for 50 years.
That's very real, and that's a result of imbalance in the body where candida exists naturally in our bodies. It's supposed to be there, but if you get too much of it, then it becomes a problem. I used to see it in my patients when I was working on the Big Island who were very overweight, and I could smell it on them, so it naturally occurs. But it's the same thing, eat healthy, exercise, wash behind your ears, all the stuff your grandma said, and those things, and they will naturally change. Most of actually everybody that I knew that had systemic candida who was overweight would have diabetes too, and that's treatable.
To stay away from. I was wondering because this was an ex-wife. I watched her this fighting it all the years. Could stay on a very, very, very fixed diet, but as her circumstances changed, the world doesn't kind of
no, it's
help.
true.
They have plenty of carbos and
just to be clear, everybody with candida is not overweight or have diabetes.
Oh, no.
You know, some people have. And then, you know, there's probably an epigenetic component. There's probably a part of their genes that are turned on. And, you know, there's 100 different ways to do anything. So anybody that has that situation, I would encourage them to, you know, talk to professionals, licensed practitioners, explore options, and don't give up. Just keep trying, because something will click in eventually.
Well, I've been watching, you know, that's why I'm thinking what I mentioned, the people that may have this kind of thing. Any food groups, we know they shouldn't be eating too many carbs, and they shouldn't be eating...
Basically, just don't eat anything out of a box. If you just eat food, you know, grains, vegetables, right, protein, legumes...
Processed is not a good idea.
Yeah. The less processed food you eat, the healthier you're going to be. Yeah, and then, you know, if you eat a little meat, whatever, that's fine, but, you know, keep it organic. Keep your food clean. Make your meals, you know. And, you know, yeah.
What do you enjoy most doing? I mean, when you wake up in the morning, do you...
Oh, God, I like planning my classes. I like doing internet research on new plants.
Oh.
There's these, lately I've been studying these two pathways in the body called NRF2 and NFKB, and they're inflammatory processes. And a lot of our Hawaiian herbs will work with these two biological pathways and reduce inflammation. I do a lot of hiking. I exercise quite a bit, and I enjoy connecting with friends and planning trips. I travel quite a bit and study plant medicines all over the tropics.
And I see from when I'm looking at your website, you sometimes go with people on your trips.
Yeah, we do herb walks and stuff like that. Yeah,
but I'm saying it's just you're a healthy, interactive community, natural. I'm not using the word doctor purposely, but
a healthcare provider.
A healthcare provider who takes the best of the modalities that you've worked with over the years, and everything's good if it's used in the right way.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
What do you see on Maui? I mean, you've been here now many years.
Yeah, since 91.
91. And me too. I got 88. So
okay, yeah.
Same league.
Right.
What do you see going on here?
I see development, destroying things that I love. I see a system that is unwilling to make tough choices to create independent agriculture. I see a system that is in some ways basically corrupt, in the sense that corporations buy influence, and it's not And I see an incredible spirit and beauty here among people, and a lot of optimism, which gives me optimism, and a lot of potential for incredible things in the future.
Well, you know, I know that this show and what we're doing here is bringing interesting and, I want to say, great people to the public's awareness, where at some point we're going to be seeing how we all can fit together and be helping each other and self-sustainable and doing things the right way. The development and the things that get out of control, I like to think that we have to have balance here locally in ourselves, in our local systems. All the stuff that's going on at a distance is crazy. We got to just start getting to the fact that we got to love each other more.
Yeah, exactly.
David Bruce Leonard has been our guest here today. We only got seconds to go. It's amazing. I always think of all this music I want to play, and then I have no time. Thank you for being with me here today, David.
Yeah, great to be with you.
I hope you'll come back again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll talk more about different things. Thank you all for being here with us at the Neutral Zone. You can look up on our website, MauiNeutralZone.com. Listen and hear this again. Go on YouTube and know we love you, and we know that the only way that the world is going to get better is personal. You got to make your part and be part of it. So here we go.